Ugh. Jeez. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be doing some longer-term technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, and more specifically, I am going to be showing you a super indicator that has literally never failed one time in the history of Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market. Guys, this indicator has only shown 3 flashes, and every time that it has started a bull market that lasted at minimum 6 months, at maximum 24 months. And we're about to see that flash happen right now. That was almost a perfect take, and then I stuttered on flash. Crap. We're also going to be looking at the long-term consolidation pattern put into place by the long-term downtrend of resistance and the slightly less longer-term uptrending level of support. This is pushing us into a consolidation pattern that is almost certainly going to break out within the next 14 days or so. That, combined with the indicator we're going to be talking about in today's video, leads to some pretty interesting and very exciting analysis. So if you guys are interested in that, I highly encourage you to stick around until the end of this video. I think you're going to get a lot of value out of this video, and if you do enjoy today's video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel when you do that. Before we just go ahead and dive on into it, guys, I do just first want to mention briefly the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. The May 2020 coupon code and sale will be running through the end of this month. That means there's about another 48 hours to jump on in the academy before this sale is over. The price of CT2A will be increasing at the end of next month, so if you'd like to learn everything you need to know about technical analysis, I encourage you jumping on in with us in the next couple of weeks. More on that at the end of the video, but for now, though, guys, without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Guys, in this video, we're going to be discussing whether or not Bitcoin breaks to the upside, to the downside, or just trades sideways in complete disregard for the technical indicators because, you know, Bitcoin just don't care. One more thing I want to mention before we get started is that the site beginnerscryptoguide.com just did a top 5 list of the best crypto YouTubers for beginners in the crypto space, and we ranked number 4. Pat myself on the back a little bit. Ranked number 4. I think we should have been 1, but I'm just saying. Anyway, I've started to talk to the person and the people behind this new site, and they actually seem pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and link that site in the description down below. I encourage you guys to go check them out. It's a relatively new site, and they're doing very well considering how new it is, so I do encourage you to go check them out. This is the article that we were linked in right here. As you can see, we ranked at number 4. How about that? Like I said, I think we should have been ranked number 1. Maybe we could have been better friends. Crypto's Beginner Guide, if you had to put us where we belong. But, you know, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. I'm kidding. Cool website. Check it out. Anyway, let's jump onto the chart. Guys, the last couple of weeks on Bitcoin have been rather tumultuous. And the reason for that is because Bitcoin has rallied here all the way up to this very powerful downtrending level of resistance, and as you can see, overnight we rallied almost to it once again. The reason that it's been so difficult to break this downtrend of resistance is something we've discussed in many videos to date, but I'll go ahead and rehash it very briefly. First of all, $10,000 is obviously going to be a major psychological level of resistance that Bitcoin is going to have to smash if it actually wants to break to the upside. Secondly, we have this zone of resistance right here, and as you can see, that corresponds with the top of a lot of VPVR resistance that is also sitting in that region. And last but not least, thirdly, we have this long-term downtrend of resistance that's been in effect for the last 2.5 years. Those of you guys that study the strength of support and resistance will understand that the longer the level of resistance has been in effect, the stronger it is going to be. Why do you think it was so difficult for us to break $6,000 back in 2018? Well, it was because it was such a major, long-lasting level of support. It gets strengthened. This downtrend of resistance is actually different because it's even stronger than 6K was. But at the same time, Bitcoin has not broken to the downside because we have this uptrending level of support right there. Not only that, out on the weekly chart, we're actually seeing Bitcoin getting support on the 50 weekly simple moving average, and we're also above the 20 weekly EMA. Bitcoin finds itself in a little bit of a precarious situation right now. Does it break bullish, and does it break out of a very, very strong and consolidated level and zone of resistance? Or does Bitcoin break to the downside? This is a topic we've been discussing here on the channel for the last several weeks. That's going to involve cycle market analysis. That's going to involve fundamental analysis. That's going to involve technical analysis. That's going to involve an overall and general understanding of the strength of the bulls and the bears and the mindset and the machinations of the manifestations of the traders. But at the end of the day, what you have to understand is that all of those things are well and good, but one indicator can overrule them all. I'm kidding. That's not how technical analysis works, but I do want to go ahead and show you this really interesting pattern that's showing up on the weekly chart. Because right now, Bitcoin is in a bit of a deadlock. We're seeing volume drop off. We're seeing volatility drop off. We're seeing open interest drop off as the shorts and the longs in general are trending to the downside. We see interest for the key search term Bitcoin falling off. And of course, now that the halving is passed, there's a lot less news in the cryptocurrency market, as well as the rest of the world turns back to things such as quantitative easing and trillions of dollars being printed and, you know, the illness that's going around. Bitcoin had a little mini hype cycle, and that hype cycle seems to be coming to an end, but is that going to last? Well, I will be honest with you guys, it's hard to tell. The technicals, the fundamentals, the psychologicals, the news-related factors of Bitcoin seem to be moving more in a bearish direction than they were a month ago today. However, when we look out to the weekly chart, we see something very, very interesting. Looking out to literally the entire history of Bitcoin, we see some very obvious trends that take place when Bitcoin enters a bull market. The first of which has to do with the 20 weekly EMA and the 50 weekly SMA. As you can see right here, there was a golden cross between these two moving averages in July of 2012. From there, a massive bull market would kick off, and from the day that that cross happened to the peak of said bull market, Bitcoin would ultimately rally 18,000% in the 1.5 years to follow. The next golden cross we saw between these two moving averages was at the exact beginning of the 2015, 16, 17 bull market. And from the day that cross happened, we would see Bitcoin rally a total of 6,000% in the ensuing 2 years. The very next cross, and in fact, the only third one of these that had ever happened back in 2019. And from when this cross happened to the top of that bull market, there was a 70% rally. This was a shorter bear market. This was a bit of the black sheep of the Bitcoin family, but nevertheless, it was indicating a bull market because I think we all agree, based on our technicals, that this 180-day or so cycle was, in fact, a short bull market. But that's not everything, guys. There are actually 3 more things I want to show you out here on the weekly chart. Let's start with another moving average. What happens whenever Bitcoin goes down to the 200 weekly SMA? We saw this happen back in 2015 when Bitcoin was in an accumulation phase preceding the bull market of 2016 and 17. We bounced off of it and then followed that massive bull market we were just talking about. At the beginning of 2019, Bitcoin was bouncing off of the 200 WSMA. What happened from there? Bitcoin would enter what would ultimately be a 330% bull market. We don't have data on this before, but if you were to extrapolate logically out what the 200 moving average would look like, it would probably look something like that, even though you can't back extrapolate moving averages like that. If you could, you would probably reasonably expect that Bitcoin bounced off of it somewhere around here if there was more price history on our cryptocurrency. Okay, great. So right now we have 2 different technical indicators on the weekly chart, by the way, which override everything on the hourly, 4-hourly, and daily chart, showing the beginning of a bull market. Literally everything on the daily chart is going to almost always be overridden by the weekly chart. So let's look at 2 more technical indicators. The weekly chart RSI, one of the simplest technical indicators in all of Bitcoin, one of the most powerful and one of the most commonly and widely used. As you can see, looking at the entire history of Bitcoin here, Bitcoin on the weekly chart has had its RSI come down to the 30 to 35 region once, twice, 3 times. Back in December of 2011 and January of 2012, that was the beginning of a bull market. Back in mid-2015, that was roughly the beginning of a bull market. Back in January and February of 2019, that was the beginning of a bull market. Do you see how every time Bitcoin came down to 30 on the weekly chart RSI, a bull market ensued? Every single time. All right, well, hang on. That's only 3 technical indicators, Jeb. Surely there's another one. Well, there is, because I already said there is. There's 4 of them. Let me show you this one, too. A lot of people look at the weekly chart MACD, which is right over there, and they think, oh, that looks like someone's heartbeat on one of those machines in a hospital, and they don't really think much of it. Especially because this beginning portion of the MACD is so small that they don't really read into it. But I decided that I was going to, and I found something very interesting, and this is the whole coup de grace of this video, is this weekly chart MACD. Throughout the course of history on Bitcoin, we have seen just a few significant bullish crosses on the weekly chart MACD. We saw one at the very end of 2011 and the very beginning of 2012. What happened during that time? Well, as you'll remember, that was the beginning of a bull market. And then in February of 2015, and then again in September of 2015, although that wasn't really a cross, it was a corrective movement, we saw golden crosses on Bitcoin. What was happening at the time? That was the bottom of a bear market, an accumulation phase, and the start of a 2-year-long, 770-day, 10 to 20,000% bull market. As you can see, there was a little bit of fluctuation here in this weekly chart MACD, but in general, the MACD was bullish and trending to the upside for 2 full years. The next time that we see a bullish cross on the MACD happens right here in the very beginning of 2019. As you'll remember, the beginning of 2019 was the beginning of a bull market that would rally 330%. In the history of Bitcoin, on the weekly chart, you find 4 technical indicators that almost perfectly predict the start of bull markets. All 4 of them are there at the start of bull markets. So if you were to see all 4 of those technical indicators, you could reasonably expect that a bull market was forming if everything in the background would allow it to do so. Tell me before I show you what I'm about to show you if I'm wrong. I'd love to hear it in the comments section. Well, I think you know where I'm going with this because we are seeing all 4 of these flashes happening right now. What were the 4 that we talked about? Golden crosses between the 20 and the 50 weekly moving averages, bounces off of the 200 weekly simple moving average, bottoming patterns on the weekly chart RSI, and golden crosses on the weekly chart MACD. Well, like I said, I think you know where I'm going with this. Let's run through them one at a time. What are we about to see happen in the next month or so? We're about to see the 20 EMA cross above the 50 SMA, more than likely somewhere around the end of June. Sometime in the midsummer, we are going to be seeing that happen. That is 1 for 4. Remember the history of this specific technical indicator. Never once have we seen a golden cross between these two moving averages and not seen a bull market. It is literally a perfect indicator as far as its history is concerned. Now, there is definitely something to be said for the history does not necessarily predict the future. You cannot necessarily extrapolate into the future like we're doing, but when you have 4 different technical indicators that are all almost perfect, it is definitely meaning something. Moving on here, the next chart formation that we're looking at is a bounce off of the 200 weekly SMA. Guess where Bitcoin went on Black Thursday back in March? Bitcoin fell and bounced immediately off of the 200 weekly SMA. We did not fall below it. On candle bodies specifically, Bitcoin did not fall below this level. We bounced around $5,300 to $5,500 on the weekly chart candle bodies. We bounced conclusively and decisively off of that moving average. So that's 2 for 2. Remember, every time that Bitcoin has come down and bounced off of this moving average, a bull market has ensued within the next 6 months. Okay, well, let's look at our weekly chart RSI. What happens when Bitcoin goes down from 30 to 35 on the weekly chart RSI? Remember, literally every single bull market in the history of Bitcoin, there have been 3 of them, every one of them, right here, right here, right here, all 3 of them predicted perfectly by the weekly chart RSI. What have we seen happen in the last 2 months? We've seen a bounce off of the 30 to 35 region on the RSI. And last but certainly not least, what happens when we see the weekly chart MACD cross bullish in accordance and in agreement with all of these other 3 technical indicators? That being said, to weed out some of the false signals that you're going to get on the weekly chart MACD, what happens when it crosses bullish? A bull market starts. In between the weeks of April 20th and April 27th, we saw that bullish cross on the Bitcoin weekly chart MACD. 3 of these technical indicators are literally perfect. They have never flashed one time and not been accurate, and one of them is very close to perfectly accurate, that being the weekly chart MACD. It does have a few false signals. Guys, there are actually more technical indicators I can go into here, having to do with the Heikin-Ashi, having to do with the 20 EMA, having to do with the Bollinger Bands, having to do with the VVR, having to do with the TD sequential, in fact. And we're going to get to all of that in future videos, but for this video in particular, I wanted to show you why I am so confident that no matter what Bitcoin does in the next 3 months, we are going to see a bull market form relatively soon. How far is that bull market going to go? Is it going to go to $14,000? Is it going to go to $20,000? Is it going to go to $250,000? We don't know that yet, but we're going to because we have patience and we have the diligence and persistence to stay in this market until it comes to pass, because we can be confident based on history and based on the growth of this industry that it will come to pass. Guys, I have been bearish on the short term for Bitcoin lately, and I'm not going to lie, I am still feeling a little bit bearish on the short term for Bitcoin. Remember what I pointed out at the beginning of this video, Bitcoin is under some very, very powerful resistance. But also remember one of the tenets that we teach in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, long-term trends will almost always override short-term trends. A downtrend showing up on the daily and the weekly chart is probably going to be overridden by something showing up on the weekly chart, especially when there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things calling for a bull market. And by the way, I didn't even mention in this video that a golden cross just happened about a week and a half ago. That almost always leads to bull markets, as you guys know. That's down on the daily chart. So look, to wrap this video out, this video is not to spread FOMO. This video is not to get you to go and buy your life savings and spend your life savings in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Quite the opposite, in fact. This is a point I want to start making even more than I already do on the channel, and that is to be careful with the money that you spend in crypto. I've said this many times, and I will say it again because there are many new faces here lately. If you're not willing to take the money that you're putting into crypto out into the backyard, douse it in gasoline, light it on fire, and then chant around it like you're some kind... I don't know where I'm going with that. If you're not willing to do that with your cash, you have no business putting it in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Forgive the weird analogy. You just don't have business putting it in cryptocurrency if you can't afford to do that. It's a sad but true fact that I get emails from people all the time saying, I just put my life savings into Bitcoin, or I just put $50,000 into Bitcoin. I've been saving for 5 years and I just threw it all in there and now it's gone. And I get that a lot. And I really hate reading those emails, guys. Please stop sending me those emails. And I don't want you to stop sending me those emails because you're just not sending them to me. I don't want you sending me those emails because if you were to send them, it would be a lie. I don't want it to happen in the first place. So the point of this video is not to spread FOMO. The point of this video is to inform. The point of this video is to give you one perspective because there's also a bearish perspective. I think the bullish one is more accurate right now, but I would love to hear your take on that in the comments section down below. Where do you think we're heading over the next couple of years? I would be very interested to hear your take on that down below. Anyway, guys, make sure to check our friends out over at beginnerscryptoguide.com. The link for that will be in the description down below. And make sure to follow them on Twitter. It's literally the exact same phrasing as their website URL because, you know, professionalism. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it for today's video. Before we go, though, I do want to mention one thing, and that would be CT2A. Guys, we've been very blessed this year, and especially this month. A lot of you guys have joined CT2A, and I'm really excited to see what all you guys are going to learn and do with the education that you're getting here in the Academy. Big things are coming to crypto. I'm finishing out updating the course over the course of the next couple of weeks, and I'm also going to be adding a lot of new videos because I have even more ideas of what I can put in here to help teach you guys the markets and the analysis and the way and the path of becoming a profitable cryptocurrency technical analyst. Look, guys, the kind of technical analysis that I just did in this video, it took me about 5 minutes to do. It doesn't take that long. I literally looked on the weekly chart and I'm like, whoa, I need to make a video about that. I found it. You know, I didn't see anyone else talking about this. I looked at the weekly chart and I'm like, whoa, check that out. We'll make a video about it. If I hadn't have had 1,000 days, probably 5,000 or 6,000 hours working in cryptocurrency markets by now, I wouldn't be able to go to the weekly chart and just say, boom, whoa, I see a pattern. Whoa, I see 4 patterns. Whoa, what does this mean? I can make an extrapolation immediately because I have that experience. It's not difficult to do what I just did and show you all these different technical indicators, but it is difficult to learn how to do it, if that makes sense. Once you understand how to do it, it becomes relatively easy. But guys, the learning curve for learning technical analysis is like one of those, you know, like those jets. They just take off and just to show off and flex their American might, they just fly straight up. That's what the learning curve for learning cryptocurrency is like. It's so hard. It took me years to get good at this, guys. Go back on the first 400 or 500 videos we uploaded on this channel. They were bad. They were not good. They were really not. We made some calls right. We made some calls wrong. A lot of times it just wasn't very great. And for some reason, all of you guys continue to stay with us through that. So I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. But through all of that trial, I have learned technical analysis. But believe me, if I had a resource like CT2A, when I started in these markets, I would have taken it in a heartbeat. Especially knowing what I know now, knowing how long it was going to take me and how difficult it was going to be to learn Bitcoin, I would have done it like that. So guys, if you want to go through technical analysis, if you want to go through cryptocurrency, if you want to profit in these markets, there's one way to do it, and the best way to do it is to join with us in the link in the description down below. We have a full 14-day money-back refund guarantee. Yes, you can pay in Bitcoin. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns before joining, you are welcome to email me at cryptojeb@gmail.com right here. Myself or Taylor will get back to you. Guys, we've had over 1,600 students go through CT2A, and they are all loving every minute of it. I can throw testimonial after testimonial after testimonial up on screen, but what I'd rather do is for you to join our free Discord server down below and go and talk to some of our students in private where I can't see the conversation so that you can get an honest testimony. Because if you're new here, you don't know me. I could just be some random YouTuber who's just making stuff up when I put testimonials on screen. Those are very easily photoshopped, by the way. If you ever see a testimony, I'm going to use them, but they're very easily faked. You going to our Discord server and having a real conversation with any one of hundreds of our students in there, I can't fake that. The only way that I can get them to give you good testimony is by giving them a good product, and that's what we've done. So if you're interested in learning technical analysis, this sale will be wrapping out at the end of May. There will be another one in June. I'm not going to try and get you with false scarcity. If you don't want to join right now, you don't have to. But the price of the course will be increasing at the end of June with all of the new content being added. So make sure you join before that, unless you want to pay more. Anyway, guys, that is going to be a wrap for today's video. I hope you did enjoy today's video. As always, if you did, hit that like and subscribe button. Guys, I'm so grateful for the growth we're having here. We're already at 41,000 subscribers and just mind blown. That is insane to me. So thank you, guys. That is really awesome. We're going to go to 100K within the next 12 months. That's the plan. Let's do it. I want that 100K plaque back there. Heck yeah. But anyway, guys, enough rambling. Like I said, that is going to wrap it out for today's video. Before I go, though, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I'll see you guys next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.